Picture this. A warrior sprinting across a battlefield, leaping over corpses, slicing through enemies with surgical precision, all while carrying the weight of a full-grown man strapped to his body. Sounds like fantasy. But for the samurai of feudal Japan, this was reality. For over 700 years, these warriors didn't just wear armor. They became one with it. What should have been a crippling burden became their greatest weapon. While European knights struggled to mount horses in steel suits, samurai performed feats that would challenge Olympic athletes. But here's the disturbing truth. The very armor that made them nearly invincible also drove many to ritual suicide. The weight they carried wasn't just physical. It was the crushing burden of a code so unforgiving that failure meant death by your own hand. What really happened when these ironclad warriors clashed on ancient battlefields was far more brutal, more psychologically twisted than any movie has ever dared to show. The weight of honor. The average samurai suit of armor, the domaru or yoroi, weighs between 125 to 140 pounds. To put this in perspective, that's more than most modern soldiers carry into battle with full combat gear, weapons, and supplies combined. But here's where it gets fascinating. Archaeological evidence from the Mongol invasions of 1274 and 1281 shows that samurai could maintain this crushing load for battles lasting over 10 hours. Skeletal remains found at battlefield sites reveal warriors who died in full armor, their bones showing stress fractures consistent with years of carrying extreme weight. The secret wasn't just physical conditioning, it was biomechanical engineering that wouldn't be matched in the West for centuries. Master armorers like Myochin Munesuke understood something that European craftsmen missed: weight distribution. The yoroi's weight was spread across the entire torso through an intricate system of cords and plates. The do, chest armor, connected to shoulder guards that transferred load to the back. Hip guards distributed weight to the legs. Nothing was random. Takeda Shingen's armor, recovered from Kai province, shows wear patterns that reveal how samurai moved. Scratch marks on the inside of thigh guards indicate a rolling gait. They didn't march, they flowed. The armor moved with them, not against them, but mastering this movement came at a price that few realize. Training began in childhood, often at age 7. Young samurai in training wore progressively heavier wooden armor for hours daily, their bodies slowly adapting to the burden they would carry for life. The science of samurai speed. In 1274, Mongolian chronicler Ye-Lu Chu-Tsai recorded something that seemed impossible. Japanese warriors moving swift as deer despite bearing the weight of iron mountains. Modern biomechanical analysis reveals how they achieved this apparent impossibility. The key was in the joints. Samurai armor featured revolutionary articulation systems, the kusazuri, tacits, hung from the waist in overlapping plates that moved independently. The sode, shoulder guards, were designed with specific angles that allowed full arm rotation without binding. The sunite, shin guards, flexed at precise points that matched natural leg movement. Dr. Sakamoto Taro's 1978 analysis of 13th century armor fragments found at Hakata Bay revealed another secret. The armor was custom fitted to each warrior's specific measurements and fighting style. Archers had different shoulder articulation than swordsmen. Cavalry samurai had modified hip guards that accommodated stirrup movement. But perhaps most remarkably, they could run. Contemporary accounts from the Genpei War describe samurai pursuing fleeing enemies for miles while fully armored. The Chronicle of the Grand Pacification mentions Minamoto no Tametomo chasing Taira forces across 3 valleys without rest, his armor singing like wind chimes. The singing was real. The kozane plates created a distinctive sound when a samurai moved at speed, a psychological weapon that announced death's approach. Enemies reportedly fled at the sound alone before the warrior even came into view. Yet this mobility demanded a price in flexibility that would prove fatal for many. The brutal choreography of armored combat. When armored samurai clashed, it wasn't the graceful sword dancing of legend. It was something far more vicious. The Heiji Monogatari scroll paintings show the reality. Warriors grappling, falling, crushing each other under their combined weight. A single misstep could pin a samurai helplessly while enemies swarmed him. The armor that protected also trapped. Hachimantaro Minamoto no Yoshi's battle accounts from the later 3 Years' War reveal the savage tactics armored warfare demanded. Unable to penetrate the yoroi directly, samurai targeted the gaps, the spaces between plates where silk cords were vulnerable. They developed specialized techniques. The yoroi gumi, armor grappling, and yoroi kumuchi, armor wrestling. Archaeological evidence from the Battle of Dan no Ura in 1185 tells a grim story. Recovered armor pieces show systematic damage patterns. Concentrated strikes at cord junctions, weapons marks targeting specific weak points. These weren't random sword slashes. They were precise practice techniques designed to exploit armor vulnerabilities. The most disturbing discovery? Many armor pieces show impact damage from the inside. Warriors were being crushed by their own protection when tackled or thrown to the ground. Contemporary battlefield surgeon Kajiwara Kagetoki's medical notes describe injuries unique to armored combat. Compression sickness from bearing iron, severe bruising from internal armor edges, and cord burns from the silk laces cutting into flesh during violent movement. But the psychological impact was even more devastating. The Hojoki records describe warriors who survived battles but never removed their armor afterward, afraid that without its weight, they would lose their warrior identity entirely. The armor wasn't just protecting their bodies, it was becoming their souls. The hidden torture of daily life. What historical accounts rarely mention is how samurai lived when they weren't fighting. The truth is both fascinating and horrifying. Full armor wasn't just for battle. During periods of political tension, samurai wore their yoroi constantly, sleeping, eating, even during religious ceremonies. The Kamakura period diary of Taira no Tadanori reveals the psychological torture of this existence. 19th day without removing the iron shell. My skin has forgotten softness. Dreams are filled with the weight of metal birds perched upon my shoulders. Medical examination of samurai remains from this period reveals the physical cost. Chronic spinal compression, enlarged shoulder muscles, and distinctive wear patterns on collarbones. Dr. Yamamoto Kenji's 1983 study of warrior skeletons found evidence of what he termed armor adaptation syndrome, permanent bone deformation from carrying extreme weight over decades. The social implications were even more disturbing. Samurai couldn't show physical weakness without losing face. Warriors would conceal injuries, continuing to wear full armor even with broken ribs or torn muscles. The Azuma Kagami Chronicles document cases of samurai dying from untreated wounds rather than admit they needed to remove their armor for medical treatment. But perhaps most tragically, the armor became a barrier to human connection. Contemporary poetry from samurai wives describes husbands who could no longer embrace their children without the cold intervention of iron plates. The very protection that kept them alive in battle was killing their humanity in peacetime. Some warriors began to see their armor as both shield and prison, protection and curse. They were becoming something inhuman, neither fully alive nor capable of death. The Mongol test. The Mongol invasion fleet appears off the coast of Kyushu, bringing with it military technology that will test everything the samurai believe about warfare. The Mongols fight differently. They use coordinated group tactics, explosive projectiles, and psychological warfare. They don't respect the samurai's ritualized combat traditions. They simply kill. What happened next revealed both the greatest strength and fatal weakness of samurai armor. The Moko Shurai Ekotoba scroll paintings show the brutal reality. Mongol arrows designed to penetrate lighter armor bounce harmlessly off samurai yoroi. The Japanese warriors are nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. But the Mongols have something new. Tetsuhao, early explosive grenades. Contemporary accounts describe the psychological impact. Thunder without storm, light without sun. The explosions didn't need to penetrate armor, they could knock warriors unconscious through concussive force alone. Suddenly, the weight that had been their advantage became a liability. Stunned samurai couldn't recover quickly enough to defend themselves. Archaeological evidence from Hakata Bay reveals another disturbing truth. Many samurai bodies were found drowned in shallow water, their armor having dragged them down when they fell. The protection that had made them invincible on land became a death sentence in the chaos of beach warfare. But the most chilling discovery came decades later. Analysis of Mongol weapons recovered from the battlefield showed they had quickly adapted their tactics. Arrow points found embedded in armor pieces weren't designed to penetrate. They were designed to catch and tear the silk cords holding the armor together. The Mongols had figured out how to turn the samurai's greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. The psychology of iron. By the Muromachi period, something had changed in the samurai's relationship with their armor. What began as practical protection had evolved into something far more complex and disturbing. Zen priest Ikkyu Sojin's writings from 1450 describe encounters with samurai who refused to be seen without their armor, even during private meditation sessions. They had developed what modern psychology would recognize as a form of body dysmorphia, unable to conceive of themselves as complete without their iron shells. The Onin War period, 1467 to 1477, produced the most extreme examples. Warriors like Yamana Sozin wore armor continuously for years, their bodies permanently altered by the constant pressure. Medical accounts describe iron flesh, skin that had hardened and scarred from constant contact with metal plates. But the psychological changes were more profound. These warriors had begun to think differently. Their decision-making patterns, analyzed through surviving correspondence, show a gradual shift toward binary thinking, honor or death, victory or seppuku. The armor's weight had become a constant reminder of the burden of their code. Contemporary accounts describe samurai who could no longer sleep without the weight of their armor, who felt hollow and vulnerable when unprotected. They had become psychologically dependent on their physical burden. The most disturbing cases were warriors who died in their armor and were found days later still standing. The rigid structure of their yoroi had literally held their corpses upright, creating a haunting image that terrified even other samurai. They had achieved their ultimate goal, becoming one with their armor. But in doing so, they had lost something essentially human. Final weight. The year is 1600, Sekigahara. The battle that will end the Warring States period and unite Japan under Tokugawa rule. It is also the last great test of the armored samurai. Here, in this muddy field, 160,000 warriors clash in what will be remembered as the most decisive battle in Japanese history. But what the histories don't tell you is how many died not from enemy weapons but from their own armor. Kobayakawa Hideaki's forces positioned on Mount Matsuo watch as samurai below become trapped in the autumn mud. Their armor, designed for firm ground, becomes a death trap. Warriors sink to their knees, then their waists, unable to move as enemy forces close in. The battle accounts describe a scene of mechanical horror. Samurai drowning in 2 feet of mud, their armor too heavy to allow escape. Others crushed under their own weight when horses fell on top of them. The very protection that had defined their warrior identity for centuries had become their execution chamber. But the most chilling moment came during the aftermath. Among the 30,000 dead, Investigators found dozens of samurai who had committed seppuku rather than be captured while helpless in their armor. They chose ritual suicide over the dishonor of being saved from their iron prisons. Tokugawa Ieyasu's victory dispatches mention warriors who died twice. First spiritually when their armor failed them, then physically by their own swords. The weight they had carried wasn't just iron and leather. It was the accumulated pressure of centuries of impossible expectations. The age of the armored samurai was ending, but its psychological legacy would haunt Japan for generations. Those who survived Sekigahara would face a new reality. The Tokugawa peace meant their armor was obsolete. The weight they had carried their entire lives was suddenly meaningless. Many never recovered from the psychological impact of being stripped of their iron identity. The samurai's mastery of heavy armor represents one of history's most remarkable achievements in human adaptation. They transformed a crippling burden into a devastating advantage, creating a warrior culture that dominated Japan for over 700 years. But their story reveals a darker truth about the price of perfection. In becoming one with their armor, they lost something essentially human. The weight they carried wasn't just physical, it was the crushing pressure of a code that demanded impossible standards. Modern analysis suggests that samurai armor was more than protective equipment. It was a sophisticated system for creating psychological dependence. The constant weight, the ritualized maintenance, the identity fusion, all elements of what we might now recognize as institutionalized conditioning. The irony is inescapable. The armor that made them nearly invincible in battle also made them vulnerable to something far more dangerous, the weight of their own expectations. Today, fragments of samurai armor sell for millions at auction. Collectors prize these iron shells as symbols of honor and dedication. But perhaps we should see them differently, as monuments to the human cost of carrying burdens that were never meant to be borne alone. The samurai achieved their goal of becoming living weapons. The question that haunts their legacy is whether, in doing so, they remained human at all. What do you think? Were the samurai victims of their own perfection? Or did they achieve something beyond ordinary human limitation? The weight of that question might be the heaviest burden of all.